Thank you very, very much. So what to do now about Iran if it indeed is the force behind these attacks on these Saudi oil fields? Wyoming Republican Senator John Barrasso, he sits, by the way, on the Foreign Relations Committee, on what he thinks we should do right now. Senator, good to have you. What do we do?
Thank you, Neil. Well, first, Iran is a terrorist nation. It is a global threat, and I agree with the president. We don't want war. We have the strongest military in the history of the world, and if an attack is necessary, he will make that ultimate decision. But I will tell you two things. Number one is we need to make sure Iran never gets a nuclear weapon. Iran with a nuclear weapon makes the entire world less safe, less stable, less secure. And the second thing is, thank goodness that we've been exploring for American energy like we have. You saw it in the markets today. The United States is the #1 producer of oil in the country. As a nation, we are no longer dependent like we were on the Middle East and held hostage by the Middle East because we're the #1 producer.
That did ease the crisis mentality. But you mentioned you don't want Iran to get a nuclear weapon. They did a lot of damage just with a drone or two, right? I mean, if they're the ones behind this, we might be forced to recalculate the danger of Iran just using what it has.
Well, there were 17 attacks, drones as well as cruise missiles in this attack. It took out about over 5 million barrels of oil daily.
Were you troubled
production,
that the Saudis were not able to repel or deal with that, Senator? Aren't they the bigger issue here, that they were not able to deal with it? The richest kingdom on the planet was totally caught unaware by a rival that with whom it's been quite familiar.
Well, I agree with you, because I think for them not to be able to detect or defend against these 17 attacks that came in says a lot about their ability to defend themselves, which is why I support the United States selling arms to Saudi Arabia so they can protect and defend themselves.
Well, they already get a lot of arms and a lot of stuff from us. Do you think that we've hooked to a dangerous wagon here that isn't right? It keeps screwing up.
Well, you take a look at that whole area of the world, and it's a very dangerous area of the world, and that danger goes back centuries. And the difference between Iran and Saudi Arabia are many, specifically fundamental and religion. But I realize that our values are very different from Saudi Arabia. We have joint interest in things that we want to see accomplished in terms of protecting against a terrorist nation, and that's why I support what we're doing with Saudi Arabia.
Now, the only reason why I mentioned it, Senator, not to badger you here, but it was very close to the Royal Kingdom itself, right? And it got me thinking, it happens sometimes, the Royal Kingdom could be toppled, and apparently quite easily. And I'm just wondering if we are ready for that once unthinkable possibility.
Well, this has been an ongoing effort. Look at what Iran is trying to do now to build up Yemen, take over Yemen, cause unrest there, continued unrest, in an effort to undermine Saudi Arabia.
Well, so they do it easily, time and again. They do it easily. This they did quite easily.
That tells you how poor the defense efforts were in Saudi Arabia to even detect what was coming in. Or could it tell you
that sanctions aren't working? Now, maybe a wounded animal strikes out like this. I get your point, but I'm wondering that if Iran is hurting, show me what it's like when it's not, right?
The sanctions have been very crushing. They have been punishing on Iran. Their prices of things with inflation have gone through the roof. There is a lot of disruption in the streets in Iran. And you're right, they are lashing out right now, but they need to be called out for what they are, a terrorist nation, and treated that way. So let's say we call them a terrorist nation, and they're treated that way. Pull out of the Iranian deal.
I get you, Senator, but for a country that's on defense, that's getting the worst sanctions on earth ever imposed on any country, to hear the president tell it, they damn near took out, 7% of the world's oil supply in one fell swoop via some drones. And I'm thinking, if that's what a wounded animal does, what the heck does an unwounded animal do?
Well, they have disruption within the country as well. We have the religious leaders, you have their defensive force, you have the elected leadership. They are not unified in that country at all, and I think this could have been the hardliners' efforts to try to disrupt what President Trump has talked about possibly doing at the UN next week, when I know he will rally support against Iran.
Well, do you think he should meet the Iranian leader when they see each other, when they bump into each other? They'll be very close by.
Well, he's made comments on that, and I will let him make that ultimate decision. But we had our UN ambassador today making strong comments and unifying others in our efforts against Iran.
You'd be okay in saying, hello, how you doing, whatever.
The president has been successful in reaching out to some pretty bad actors around the world. He's done it with North Korea. He has done it and has talked about doing it here, and he'll make that decision next week.
We shall see. Senator, thank you very, very much. All right, never mind, the New York Times had to correct